program like this in our district. And I want to hear from parents out there. Thank you for your support, bringing your kids here, bringing your kids to a music program like this. And so can we see all the parents in the room of these fantastic kids? You guys were all great. Thank you so much. All right, it is 7 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Greenberg,
Here.
Mrs. Bacon,
Here.
Mr. Laney,
Here.
Mrs. Matura,
Here.
Mrs. Case.
Here.
Next on the agenda is approval of agenda. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive the agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board or audience may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. I would like to offer the agenda as posted.
Does any member of the governing board wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Does any member of the audience wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mrs. Case, may I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda and recommended consent agenda items G1 through G15?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is governing board statements. Mrs. Greenberg?
Thank you. Along with most of my fellow board members, many of us here attended the ribbon cutting for Palomino Primary last week. And it was held in conjunction with their family math night. So it was incredibly well attended. People were having a great time. And I just want to thank the community again. That was another one of our projects that we were able to approve and complete thanks to our community supporting our bond efforts. And I'm so thrilled for Palomino Primary that they have this incredible updated school. Thanks.
Mrs. Case?
Thank you. I also attended the ribbon cutting and it was so amazing. I've been to the old campus and the new campus. It's wonderful. And the play area they obtained by making a 2-story building was really nice. And they were able to use as much as the building as they had and just use as many functions that were there and make do and do better. And it was really fun to be there. And I got a tour with the architect and with the principal, and that principal has a lot of heart. And it's really fun to see his connection to the school. So that was really fun to be there. As I was going through the board meeting information, it's on the consent agenda, but I would just want to say something. There's 2 CREST students that are doing a program. It's biochemical chemistry engineering. I think that's the right, I don't know, some word like that. But they are working with trying to figure out the grip on hands. And so they're just using some of the students, and parents will give their permission so they can see how much strength to make prosthetics. And it's just amazing what our students are involved with. for their capstone project. I mean, these are high school students. And I was just really excited, and everything seemed so professional, what they sent in to be approved. And I'm just excited that our students have this opportunity. And I have a daughter in a master's program, and to see the preparation our students are getting for future endeavors and understanding and seeking for ideas, it's just really thrilling that our students have these opportunities. So thank you.
Mr. Laney?
So I wasn't able to attend the ribbon cutting. It rained, but I heard it was still well attended. So the reason why I couldn't attend because I was busing kids around. And so for a shameless plug, the reason I was busing kids around was for Horizon Choir. They have Broadway Under the Stars coming up next week. So I would encourage any and all to go to that because it's a great performance.
Mrs. Bacon?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I missed 2 meetings in a row, and I've never done that. This is my 12th year of board service, so I'm back. Just things happened and I couldn't be here, but I have been following along and watching all of these things with great interest, and am excited for Broadway Under the Stars. It's going to be a great evening, and if you haven't gone, you have to go. I say it every year, but you have to go.
All right. I got to go to the very windy event of the ribbon cutting that was moved inside, luckily, and that's fantastic. I love when we get to see updated buildings for our students and see them get a space to learn in. I was also able to attend Disney Dazzles, which was a combination of Shea Middle School and Shadow Mountain High School concert, and that was really fun to be able to be there and see how they worked those two groups together. And we had a great time at that event. We also had PV Pulse since the last meeting. And we had a few people attend, hopefully more next time. But it really is a great opportunity for people who aren't able to make it to a governing board meeting in an evening to be able to come out during the day if that works better for them, and just be able to talk to us, talk to administration, and see what's going on in the district. So highly recommend keep an eye out for the next one. And I also had a great opportunity to visit Greenway Middle School last week. And I was fortunate to attend on it wasn't a Friday, but it was considered a Friday because it was before our break. And it was dancing lunchtime. I'm probably getting this wrong, what it's actually called. But it was so much fun seeing the students out there interacting with staff and with administration and with each other, and the way they treated each other and were encouraging one another and just really excited to be at their school was so amazing to see. And I'm really proud of our school there, and I'm so glad I got a chance to get out there and visit and speak with Mr. Ontiveros and hear about the dedication of the teachers there and what they're doing to bring things to their students. It's really exciting. We have so many things going on in our district at each one of our schools, and I wish people would take time to really delve in and see what great programs, great schools we have. Our kids are fantastic, and we need to give them the best we can give them, and that's what our teachers and staff are doing every day. So I'm so proud, and I really enjoyed my visit. So thank you. Next on the agenda is awards and recognitions. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura. It's always a pleasure to highlight staff for success or appreciation and students as well. Tonight, Mr. Droege will MC our honors, and at this point, I would like to invite the governing board to join me in front of the dais.
Good evening, President Matura, governing board members, Dr. Bales, members of cabinet, and attendees both in person and virtual. This evening, we have several recognitions to share with you. The first, our 18 honorees tonight earned academic honors from the College National Recognition Programs. The College Board Recognition Program honors students in 4 categories: National African American Recognition Award, National Hispanic Recognition Award, National Indigenous Recognition Award, and National Rural and Small Town Recognition Award. As I call your name, please meet the governing board at the front of the room for a photo and applause. Families, please take this time to also share in the photo taking. If you'll join me in congratulating this evening from Paradise Valley High School for the National African American Recognition Award, Bianca Holcomb. Unable to attend this evening from Pinnacle High School, Jack Turner. Receiving the National Hispanic Recognition Award from Horizon High School, unable to attend this evening, Andrew Del Toro. Also from Horizon High School, Mackenzie Kemble. Unable to attend this evening from Horizon High School, Phoebe Barbosa. Also from Horizon High School, Sophia Sandy. The National Hispanic Recognition Award from North Canyon High School, Brenna Rose. From Paradise Valley High School, Anissa Rivera Nichols. Next, PVHS student Marissa Valenzuela. Maya Iniguez. Sebastian Cisneros. And also from Paradise Valley High School, Vanessa Minero Leon. The National Hispanic Recognition Award from Pinnacle High School, Ava Parga. From Shadow Mountain High School, unable to attend, Benjamin Winkler. Cindy Restrepo. From Shadow Mountain High School, unable to attend this evening, Madison Campos. And Miles Diaguano. With the National Indigenous Recognition Award from Pinnacle High School, Brianna Liu. Please join me in congratulating all of these fantastic students. Our next honoree is the inaugural recipient of the Arizona School Nurse Access Program's Arizona School Nurse Lifetime Service Award. This award is presented to a current Arizona school nurse who exemplifies dedication to the school nursing profession and the work of school nurses in Arizona. As the lead nurse east and nurse at Shadow Mountain High School, tonight's honoree is certainly most deserving of this special honor. Please join me in congratulating Karen Reuter. Our next recognition is the Paradise Valley Education Support Professional of the Month. Ms. Michelle Courtwright walks to the podium with applause to make the presentation.
This is probably the high point of what I do, is being able to recognize an exemplary employee. And this month, we are recognizing Kusei Abed. He is the custodian over at Desert Trails Elementary School. And and as most people know, being a custodian in a school district is very different than being a custodian at a normal business. You spend a lot of time cleaning up bodily fluids, making sure the air conditioning is working, making sure the desks are the right height. And from what I understand, from the 20 letters that I have, one of the things that Kusei does, he always has a smile on his face. More than one person described him as the Superman of Desert Trails Elementary School. They talk about how children know who he is. They know him by name because he knows them by name. He not only does his regular duties, he tells lots of jokes. He works in the parking lot directing traffic. He crosses children. He is what we want all of our employees to be, someone that makes the environment and the building a welcoming place so that parents want to send their students there, that teachers and staff want to be there because of employees like Kusei. And thank you for being one of those.
And last this evening, but certainly not least, is the recipient of the Paradise Valley Education Association's recognition of Professional Standards Award for Teachers. Ms. Susie Seep, PVEA President, will introduce tonight's honoree.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Matura, Governing Board, and Cabinet. As you can see, we all appreciate our custodians, each and every one. I'm here to celebrate an amazing teacher from Desert Springs Prep. Her name is Nicole Berg. She was nominated by her colleague, Randy Posner. Randy said that Nicole loves Desert Springs Prep. We started this school year missing some key personnel at our site, a custodian, and having had some last-minute admin changes. It's important to know that our site has been a construction zone up until teachers reported back. Nicole had plenty to do in her classroom to prepare for the school year. She took it upon herself to do even more. She brought a blower from home to clean up the entrance to the school for kindergarten testing day. She brought new flowers to put in the pots outside the office to ensure the school gave a positive first impression to the new families. Then Nicole offered to upgrade the bulletin boards in the front office, set up the media center for our first day back, organize staff photos. She also took over organizing the ordering of staff t-shirts. She helped get the new workroom organized and functional. These projects helped our new administrator focus on the things that needed to get done. Nicole is just always willing to help out. She took on all of these things without being asked. She just knew that without a custodian, the outside cleanup would not occur. And she knew the new admin had too much on her plate, and so she jumped in to help. Nicole is in her 9th year of teaching 6th grade. Prior to teaching 6th grade, she was a long-term sub in kinder and first. Her journey in PVUSD started back in 2003 when her oldest daughter started kindergarten at Desert Springs. Her triplets started at Desert Springs and Sun Kids, and now all 4 of her adult children are graduates of Horizon. She became a parent volunteer in 2006 and a substitute 3 years later. She was then persuaded to get her teaching credentials and was hired in 2013. She often tells her colleagues that Desert Springs is near and dear to her heart, and she only wants the best, which is why she always does a little bit more. Please join me in celebrating Nicole. She's brought her family here tonight.
And that, President Matura, concludes this evening's awards and recognitions.
Next on the agenda is call to the public.
Call to the Public is about to convene. This portion of today's meeting allows the public the opportunity to address the governing board. Although state law does not require that the governing board hold a call to the public, the Paradise Valley Unified School District and its board have chosen to do so because we believe it's important to hear about concerns and issues from our community. While Call to the Public is not designed to be a discussion, the board is here to listen. Due to Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot respond to, discuss, or take any action on items brought up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you and address individual concerns. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand, and to be able to do so in an open and collaborative way. All in attendance are expected to observe meeting rules, as well as rules of politeness and decorum, so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner.
Tonight, we have 6 people who have submitted comment cards prior to the start of the meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for remarks. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. Our first speaker is Jennifer Ariza, and our next will be Stacy Alejo.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Ariza, and I just want to say thank you to each of the board members for the time that you put into your position. I know personally it's difficult to make it to each of these meetings. I try personally also to come to them. Tonight I stand here as a concerned parent in the Paradise Valley School District, and I do really appreciate the opportunity to speak. To give everybody a little bit of background about myself, I moved into the Paradise Valley School District a little over a year ago, and I started coming to these school board meetings shortly after. At each meeting that I've been able to attend, I've advocated against pornography in our schools. Last year, on Thursday, April 21st, we had a committee lead do a presentation on a list of books to be added to the approved reading list for AP English. The list included 2 pornographic books. One was Slaughterhouse-Five and the other was The Handmaid's Tale. Does everyone know what material is in these books? Slaughterhouse-Five, just to give you a summary, has sex prevalent throughout the novel. Pornography, bestiality all make an appearance in that story. Handmaid's Tale has sex, or rather rape, that is central to the story. Honestly, I did not think that the board would approve the list with these 2 books. Unfortunately, on Thursday, May 19th, the board voted 3-2 in favor of adding these books. The board members who voted in approval were Susan Matura, Julie Bacon, and Ann Greenberg. Thankfully, we had 2 board members that voted against the list. Those board members were Michael Laney and Nancy Case. Unfortunately, that was not enough to keep these pornographic books from being added to the school-approved reading list. I am asking the board members to not approve any reading material in the future with pornography to be placed on any approved reading lists in our schools. And you may be sitting here tonight wondering, why does this lady come to every single board meeting and advocate against pornography? And I just have to counter back and ask people if they have been able to research the effects of pornography on children. The American Bar Association states that exposure to pornography harms children and youth by normalizing sexual violence, creating unrealistic expectations for intimate partners and relationships, and increases the risk of addiction. This happens whether it's in a graphic video or an explicit passage in a book. Pornography is used to train and desensitize people and increases the demand for human trafficking. Do you know that Arizona is home to the largest human sex trafficking recovery program? And do you know that we are taking elementary age children into this program? If you haven't already, I would encourage each one of you to research the effects of pornography in children. Thank you.
Next is Stacy Alejo, followed by Christina Lee.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm a little tall. My name is Stacy Alejo, and I am a proud parent of my 3 babies who attend PVUSD schools, as well as the behavior interventionist over at Greenway Middle School. First, I would like to say thank you to the members for allowing me to speak tonight and allowing the public to speak in general. I'm here tonight to shed a different light on the war zone next door to us. For those of you who have been to Greenway next door and experienced it for yourself, I know that what I'm about to say to you will not come as a surprise. But for those of you who have not gone to Greenway and walked our halls, I hope this gives you a different perspective on what Greenway truly is. For the past 6 years, I have had the opportunity to teach Spanish to both 7th and 8th grade. This year, I was lucky enough to take on a new position as a behavior interventionist and have been lucky enough to work even closer with the students and staff. I have seen growth throughout the past several months in every single person, every single staff member, teacher, and student on that campus. And I am here to say that our school has come incredibly far and will continue to grow and shock the world. And I am saying this because I have seen us at our absolute worst, and I am now getting to see us at our absolute best. The war zone next door is full of staff and teachers who, in a duty-free district, come out and watch kids before school, during lunch, and after school simply because they want to. Our student basketball and softball games have bleachers that are filled with staff members just wanting to cheer on our own students and spend time with our own families. It is bursting at the seams with students who are boasting about their grades going from a D to a B in math, or that their star reading test went up by 10 points. We have created procedures and routines and expectations that keep our school running like a well-oiled machine and a roar store where our students get to use their roar points through our PBIS system. We have dance parties at lunch with cumbias on Fun Friday, and Fun Fridays where teachers get to run to the phones and guess the song of the week and then get donuts delivered to their classroom for themselves and their students by our principal. We have 2 principals who are present on campus and who are actively in classrooms every single day who truly want the best for their staff and for their students. So please, I invite you and I highly encourage you to come visit the War Zone next door, and you may be ever so surprised that it is actually the best middle school in this district. Thank you.
Next, we have Christina Lee, followed by Aldo Cano Leon.
Good evening. My name is Christina Lee, and I am currently the assistant principal at Greenway Middle School. Give me a moment, because after hearing what she had to say, I need to compose myself a little bit. Thank you, members of the board and cabinet, for providing employees, parents, and community members the opportunity to speak in this format. My name is Christina Lee, and I am the honored assistant principal at Greenway Middle School, and incredibly thankful that Paradise Valley Unified School District welcomed me last year into the family. I want to share with everyone some of the amazing things that are going on at Greenway. Our incredible staff, teachers, and students are creating this wonderful, welcoming, positive environment for everyone to thrive, grow, and learn. Teachers are building relationships with students that are allowing them to take risks, which is what we want, right? And allowing them to grow. I need you all to know I have so much joy every single day coming to Greenway. Walking through the classrooms, watching teachers engage with their students, and students working hard to meet their teachers' expectations. We are raising the bar at Greenway like no other. You have no idea. Middle school is tough. Don't get me wrong. I have spent 17 years of experience with middle school as a teacher, as an instructional coach, and now as an assistant principal. However, on those tough days, I can tell you our Greenway students, teachers, and staff rise to the occasion. Students are reflective, and staff and teachers are willing to adjust for what is best for their students daily. Greenway is the place to be, and we are going to shock the world. Mr. O. Mr. Jorge Ontiveros is my principal, and I want to thank him personally for choosing me. And I know there were others that had a hand in that, and I thank you as well. But I am so thankful to have this inspirational principal, and I know I am exactly where I need to be and exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I cannot wait to see what the rest of this year unfolds. With all that being said, I encourage other schools, their communities, their parents, their teachers, and all of Paradise Valley Unified School District to visit Greenway Middle School to get just a taste of the joy that I experience every day. Thank you.
Next is Aldo Cano Leon, followed by Lenolo Cano Leon.
Hi, my name is Aldo Cano. The reason I'm here to talk to you today, and thank you for your time for being here, is the reason that I attended Greenway Middle School. And as a previous student at Greenway Middle School, I used to hear back then in 7th and 8th grade that our school was never going to be anything, that we were going to be a gangster school or school that wouldn't be able to achieve many successes in high school and in future possibilities for college and life. But currently, right now, I am a sophomore at North Canyon High School, and I am proud to say that I did go to Greenway. And it was an amazing opportunity since it helped me out so much, and to now where I am currently taking honors classes as well as dual enrollment at PVCC. Um, and Greenway helped me by doing that, and it's just seeing Mr. Ontiveros, who was assistant principal back then. It was great seeing him, and as well as Miss Alejo, one of our Spanish teachers. It's great seeing them again since it reminded me of the memories that I used to have at Greenway, the parties, the dance parties that we would have on Friday, and as well as the different activities Greenway would have. And just being there at Greenway was such an amazing opportunity for me, and that I personally think that people should get to know Greenway before they speak about it. And that is all. So thank you.
Next is Leono Cano Leon, followed by Lily Gresham.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leonel Cano Leon, but I also go by Leo, which is easier for mostly teachers and anyone else who doesn't know how to pronounce my name. Just like my brother that spoke to you guys before, I also attended Greenway Middle School. I also attended from the earliest elementary school at Palomino, went through the whole system within the district, and I'm proud to say I am also a Greenway alumni. I am now a full-grown adult that, thanks to Greenway, thanks to North Canyon High School, I was able to prepare myself, and I was the first generation in my family to graduate high school, first in my family to go to college, and first one in my family to graduate from Arizona State University with my bachelor's degree, and then a year later with my master's. That being said, none of this would have been possible if I wouldn't have had a school like Greenway Middle School. Thanks to the programs like AVID and the reading programs that I was installed since an early age, I'm not the person I am today without the teachers that I had pushing me, telling me to do this, telling me to do that, even by reminding me the silliest little things that I ever could think of. Now as an adult, thanks to those nagging, strict teachers that I had, the good thing they're not here to hear this. So thanks to them, I am an example, I am a leader, and I am a supportive, productive, hopefully responsible adult of society. But I wouldn't have made it here without Greenway. So if you guys, like the teachers and my brother before me, whenever you guys get the chance, just walk around campus, speak to the teachers, principals, anyone there has a pride and has just the energy to call themselves a Greenway Middle School student. And here I am today. Thank you.
Lily Gresham.
Hi, my name is Lily Gresham, and I have a lot to talk about, but I'm going to narrow it down to one thing. I get a little sidetracked, so I'm going to have to write you all letters. Okay, so I'm going to speak on HB 2495. That is about, now it's called Family Life Education. It's very upsetting because we had a conversation about what was called human growth and development in the Paradise Valley Unified School District. And what it says here on the agenda, and I looked up the policies and everything, and it says that 2495 prohibits school districts and charter schools from referring students to or using any sexually explicit material in any manner except as part of a sex education instruction. And materials may be exempted from this rule if the materials meet certain statutory definitions, such as having serious educational value. And the policy was updated to prohibit the referral to sexually explicit materials unless it's part of the governing board approved sex education program. Okay, well, the sex education program for the Paradise Valley District is, I don't know how I'm gonna put this delicately, is subpar at to say the very least. I have the curriculum overview here, and I remember talking at the meetings on September 22nd of, was it last year? I told them what I thought about it, because I went over the curriculum and the sex education video. It was 16-minute video offered to 10th graders on Google Classrooms. And here the overview for 10th graders says that the objectives are to define and the major structures and functions of the human reproductive system. Well, there was no part in the video about that. And then the second part, it says to learn the signs and symptoms of sexually transmitted infections. And it says to know how pregnancy occurs. Well, in the whole like 18-minute video, it never said the word penis. So I don't know how you can get pregnant or have any STDs or refer to anything in the human reproductive system without the word penis. But anyway, it took over 10 minutes to discuss STDs. Not how you get an STD, but what happens when you get an STD, like all the gross stuff that happens, but no idea how you get it. And so this whole HB 2495 about sexually explicit materials and sex education, I think it's really crap. I mean, if you don't even have a I'm over. I'll write you all letters because
Next on the agenda is Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura. Governing board members, cabinet guests, would like to begin and start by celebrating. It's really hard to act to follow when we hear these Greenway Middle School kids talk about the wonders, right? They're awesome. And to our amazing teachers at Greenway, thank you. I'm very, very proud to support you all there. You're doing great work. We also have, as mentioned, some wonderful leaders in the district. And this month is National Principals Month. Yay! I'd like to send a shout out to our principals and honor for their significant impact on success and well-being of our students. Furthermore, on behalf of the governing board, I'd like to thank our principals for continuously building positive relationships with their staff, the students, the parents, and the community members while guiding and enforcing the expectations and rules of the school. So thank you to our amazing principals and assistant principals across the district. October also marks Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and this year's theme is It's Easy to Stay Safe Online. In today's digital age, it's more important than ever to be aware of cybersecurity risks and take steps to protect yourself and your family online. We have a few cybersecurity tips posted on our website, so please visit pvschools.net. I'm also excited to announce that PV Schools received an approval letter from the Arizona Department of Education regarding the Arizona State Seal of Arts Proficiency. To earn the Arts Proficiency Seal, students must have taken 4 courses in the arts and have earned at least a 3.0 average in those courses. They also have to have dedicated at least 80 hours to extracurricular arts-related activities after school, which furthermore cannot be associated with a grade for a course, and they must complete a capstone, an independent, publicly performed or showcased original work. During 2021-22 school year, 59 seniors earned the Arts Proficiency Seal on their diplomas. Congratulations. Next week is National School Bus Safety Week, and thank you to all of our school bus drivers and the Transportation Department staff for their continued support of students. Beginning with the early morning bus routes through our first bell and onto our routes home, the dedicated transportation staff in PV Schools works hard daily to get our students where they need to be. PV Schools is still facing a shortage of drivers, so if you or someone you know would like to drive in paradise, please visit pvschools.net/jobs. In PV Schools, we engage, we inspire, and nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. One of those experiences is AP Capstone. And for the 21-22 school year, we had 38 students from Horizon, Paradise Valley, and Pinnacle High Schools earn an AP Capstone diploma. Congratulations. The AP Capstone Diploma helps students develop the critical thinking, research, collaboration, and presentation skills that are critical for academic success. And to receive the AP Capstone Diploma, students must earn scores of 3 or higher in AP Seminar, AP Research, and on 4 additional AP exams. We are very proud of these students and hope more students strive to earn this fantastic academic achievement. And those are my comments tonight.
Next on the agenda is under items for approval, Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Mature, Governing Board, Cabinet members, and guests. The next items for approval, there's a list of 20 policies for second reading. It's quite a list, yes. And we've had a lot of time to talk about those at the first reading at our last board meeting. And there were very, very minor to no changes since the first reading on most of these policies. As a matter of fact, almost all of the policies. But I have a couple feedback, questions and or comments. I would like to suggest that the 14 following items of the 20, and I'll read them by number, so if you want to circle them on the agenda or go along with me, I would like to recommend that the 14 be approved in one motion and then suggest we take the final 6 individually. All righty, so that would be items number 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, and 20. I would be happy to repeat those. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20. I would recommend those for approval.
May I please have a motion to approve agenda items H2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, and 20 as a single motion as presented.
So moved.
Any of the board, member of the board wishing to make a comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is under items for approval. Item H1, Dr. Bales.
We are going to continue with the individual items. And that first one is number 1, policy GBGCB. Like the rest of these 6 items, there are minor revisions that call out the statute to the policy to highlight the basic reason for us presenting this ASBA policy advisory and board approval. This one addresses staff health and safety for second reading. We recommend approval, and Dr. Holmes is here if you have additional questions.
May I please have a motion to approve revisions to governing board policy GBGCB as presented?
So moved.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Mrs. Greenberg?
Thank you. Sorry, it's a little bit long. I want to thank Cabinet for the time and effort they put into reviewing the policy advisories we receive and determining recommendations for policy changes and additions that are brought to us as a board. While this happens throughout the year, we usually find ourselves with a larger number once the legislative session has concluded and bills become law, which is why we have so many before us tonight. As I am sure my colleagues did, I spent several hours reviewing these recommendations, had various questions and suggestions during first read. I appreciate that some of those were incorporated, most of those were incorporated. I've continued to review these as well as the legislation that became law that led to the creation of these recommended policies. Now, our policies do not contain every pertinent law out of Title 15, which is focused on education, or other applicable laws that are contained in other sections of the Arizona Revised Statutes. But whether they appear among our policies or not, we certainly follow them in other laws of our state. Essentially, we do not have to put everything in policy to ensure statute is followed, but what we do put in policy becomes part of us, part of the Paradise Valley Unified School District. And the very first entry among our policies is our district mission and belief statement led by our vision, every learner empowered for a lifetime of success, and our mission. We engage, inspire, and nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. These are followed by our values, value statements, and actions. And I'm not going to read the entirety of these statements, but I do want to highlight a few. Under student focus, we state that we approach each decision and interaction with every student's success and well-being as a priority. Among the ways we demonstrate this value is by creating a safe, inclusive, and trusting environment, and by valuing individual students' strengths and identifying opportunities for growth and excellence. Under innovation, we state that we nurture creativity, curiosity, and strategic thinking through dynamic learning experiences. And among the ways we demonstrate this value is by creating flexible learning opportunities and teaching critical thinking and higher order problem-solving skills to instill courage and academic confidence. Under collaboration, we state that we cultivate respectful and meaningful relationships that support high expectations and a culture of growth. And among the ways we demonstrate this value is by acting in a trusting and trustworthy manner to ensure a safe exchange of ideas. Under integrity, we state that we model character, equity, and ethical behavior in all we do. And among the ways we demonstrate this value is by respecting and honoring individuals' strengths and differences. Unfortunately, because of the statutes upon which they are based, some of the policies before us do not necessarily support these values and actions, or even allow us any sort of flexibility, situational or otherwise, to revise them such that they could support RPV's values and actions, or at the very least not create mandates that could become overwhelming. Because of this, I'm going to be voting no on some of these recommendations, and I'm not going to read these comments every time, and I have supported the majority that came before us. But this one and most of the others that are coming up, I believe they simply don't allow us to support our students, our staff, our parents, our families, and community as we have for decades. And because of that, I can't support their inclusion among our policies at this time.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor for the item GC policy GBGCB, staff health and safety, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Next on the agenda is under items for approval, agenda item H5, Dr. Bales.
This policy, JLCC, is communicable infectious diseases, and we recommend approval. And Mr. Long is here if there are, Dr. Jarris is here if we have additional questions.
May I please have a motion to approve revisions to Governing Board Policy JLCC as presented?
So moved.
Any member of the board wishing to make a comment? All those in favor, please. Oh, sorry. Yes, Mrs. Greenberg.
I want to say I appreciate that there have been some changes made to this one, and whereas I initially did not feel I could support it, I can.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is under items for approval, agenda item H9, Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura. This policy, JJIA, regarding intramural sports is for second reading, and Mr. Long is here if there are additional questions. We recommend approval.
May I please have a motion to approve new governing board policy JJIA as presented?
So moved.
Any members of the board wishing to make a comment? I am going to make a comment actually on this one. I just wanted to point out that with most of these that we are passing tonight, that most of these policies and they all come out of the new laws that were passed. And many of these laws that were put into place are restricting our local control of the governing of the school district. So at the state level, they are constricting the local control of the board. And sometimes some of the laws that were passed make things that weren't necessarily a big deal at all in our district for sure, and turned it into a law, which made it seem like these things were all over and were really a big deal. And yet it became a law, which makes people think it was a big deal when a lot of these things could have been solved without having legislation. And legislators could have spent more time on things that could have affected school districts in a positive way, such as dealing with the aggregate expenditure limit. And so I wish that sometimes legislators would spend more time on things that could provide positive things for our school district instead of restricting local control. So those are my comments. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Next on the agenda is under items for approval, agenda item H10, Dr. Bales.
Thank you. Policy JJIB regarding interscholastic sports. We do recommend approval, and Mr. Long is available for questions.
May I please have a motion to approve revisions to governing board policy JJIB as presented?
So moved.
Any member of the board wishing to make a comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Next on the agenda is under items for approval, agenda item H13, Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura. This policy, IHAMB, regarding family life education, is presented for approval with minor revisions since the first, and Dr. Corson is available if there are additional questions.
May I please have a motion to approve revisions to governing board policy IHAMB as presented?
So moved.
Any member of the board with a comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Next on the agenda is under items for approval, agenda item H17, Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura. This next policy, KB, regards parental involvement in education. We do recommend approval, and Dr. Corson is available if there are additional questions.
May I please have a motion to approve revisions to governing board policy KB as presented?
So moved.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Excuse me, Mrs. Bacon.
Sorry. So because this is the last one we're going to approve, I just wanted to also make comments about the overzealous legislature impact that some of these things have on our schools, and agree both with Mrs. Greenberg and Mrs. Matura in terms of the things that they've stated already. There are plenty of problems to solve, and sometimes we have problems that need solutions, and sometimes there are solutions that are seeking problems. And I think some of this is the solution seeking a problem, not a problem that needs solved. So I just wanted to make it clear that while I'm voting in favor of these, I'm doing so because I'm required to follow the law as a publicly elected person who took an oath. But I, in addition, have concerns about the way some of these have been presented and mandated for school districts to have to approve.
Mr. Laney?
I didn't realize this was the last one either because I wanted to say something too. So thank you for saying that. So in my many conversations with Dr. Bells, I've always advocated for local control. I feel the same way when it comes to laws, though I do agree with most of these things that we're voting on. I feel that when it comes to laws, that the more local we are, the better we can handle our district. And I know that many of these things we were already aware of, and we're already working towards solutions. And so I appreciate the fact that we're already doing that. And so I just wanted to, bring that out and make people understand that sometimes dictating from on high isn't always the best. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this one? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Next on the agenda is approval of recommended K-12 writing curriculum supplemental adoption. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Mature, Governing Board members, Cabinet, and guests. Tonight, we do recommend for approval that K-12 writing curriculum supplements adoption. And there were no changes from the first reading, but Dr. Corson and his wonderful team are here and available to answer any questions.
May I please have a motion to approve the recommended K-12 writing curriculum supplementals adoption as presented?
So moved.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board? All those in favor, please. Mrs. Case.
This is a life experience comment I'm going to make. I'm hoping that if we need to add more materials that we can, because there is a grammar book for elementary school and it can be used in middle school that is phenomenal. It's called Grammar Made Easy. And it's written by a local resident. Her children went to this district, and she's told me that she would teach the teachers free of charge to use her materials. It is a phenomenal system. My children have used it, and my one daughter said, "Oh, Mom, when I was taking the ACT test, I just went through how to do it and how she was taught in 6th grade, and it stuck with her because it was the system is so good." So I'm hoping that if we need to add more materials, we'll be able to.
Ms. Case, to answer your question, yes, we do have a process in place so that either annually or every other year, we will be entertaining a process to add additional supplemental materials.
Okay, and I made this comment last time, but I think it bears repeating that I do appreciate having some supplemental materials that are kind of consistent across the board, which allows for better use of time and training, and we can really allocate our time and money that way on certain ones, as opposed to having so many different programs across the district. So, and allowing schools to keep what they had once it was reviewed, but also kind of having a system in place so that we can spend time and resources appropriately. So thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is approval of the annual financial report for fiscal year 2021-2022. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Mature, Governing Board members, Cabinet, and guests. We recommend for approval the annual financial report, and Ms. Berrigan will provide a short presentation before we ask you to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Mature, and Governing Board members. Do have a little bit of information for you. We are closing out our fiscal year 21-22. And just to start, I shared last year a timeline of how budgets and financial reports work in order. And I have added to that a little bit for this year by color coding it so that you understand there's 3 colors because we are often working on 3 years at one time. Most of the time it's just 2, but on occasion we have that 3rd year. So everything in purple is actually related to this fiscal year 22-23. So in January up through generally April, May, or June, this last year was right up until June 30th, the legislature is meeting to determine what budgets will look like for us in the subsequent fiscal year. By June of that year, or June of 2022, in this example, we are to propose our budget no later than July 15th, but we generally do that in June since we don't have a July meeting. We adopt that budget. So propose it, then adopt it. October 15th rolls around, and no later than October 15th, we have to do the annual financial report for last fiscal year. So that's the 2 years we're working on, fiscal year 21-22. By December 15th of this year, we will do our first budget revision for the 22-23 budget. And then here comes a new year, January through the April, May, June timeframe, this state is starting to work on our budget for 23, 24. And even really internally within the district, we're starting to make projections and planning for the next fiscal year 24 as well. Back to the current fiscal year in February or March of 2023, the annual comprehensive financial report comes out for 21-22. And by March 1st, we have our Arizona Auditor General classroom spending report. And finally, for the current fiscal year of 22-23, by May 15th, we do our final budget revision. So just a reference and a remembrance for you all about how the timeline works for budgets and AFRs in the district. So for this year's AFR, we just want to remind you that it does need to be completed by October 15th, and this is our final board meeting before October 15th. It does report all of the district's revenues and expenditures for fiscal year 21-22. It's reviewed by the state to ensure that our expenditures haven't exceeded our budget limits, and then it's used to help prepare the annual comprehensive financial report that I mentioned comes out in the February or March timeframe. Also, I've shared before, school districts are the most transparent organizations that I know of. We have lots of requirements, and we do that anyway because we think it's important to share with our community how our taxpayer dollars are used. But included in that financial transparency is that we post the AFR on the Arizona Department of Education website. It's also posted to our website, a link to that, so anybody can go and see that information. I know I've met with Mr. Laney recently, and he has all the links and has been clicking on them. Next, this is just a graphical or chart representation of the revenues by area. So starting with local, that's where most of our revenues come from, at almost 58% of our total revenues. Part of that is from our local taxpayers' portion of the state equalization base, but also because we have voter-approved initiatives, that amount gets a little bit bigger. We have the next largest portion of the pie is almost 27%, and that's the state revenue, the largest portion of that being the state equalization formula, and additionally some state grants. Federal is next at almost 15%, and then there's a little bit of money for the county equalization, just under $5 million. The next piece is just a very brief summary from the AFR of the main funds in millions, and our maintenance and operation expenditures totaled about $228 million for fiscal year 21-22. Debt service was just under $57 million. That debt service is the debt that we pay on the bonds that have been issued over the last up to 20 years. Then we have bond building expenditures. So that is the new bonds that we have sold, and we'll eventually pay the debt on those as well at $55.6 million. Federal and state grants at $43.2 million, and classroom site fund at $23 million. There are other expenditures as well, but those are the main funds. With those expenditures for maintenance and operation at $228 million, that will bring our budget balance carry forward to about 7.05%. We were aiming for that 7 to 8% range, and we will be right in there at 7.05% for M&O. And then finally, this shows the expenditures by object for our basic operating funds. And as we know, the largest portion is for salaries and benefits. The two together for fiscal year 21-22 total 87.6%, a little bit higher than a typical year. Normally we're in the 85 to 86% range, and last year was at 86.1%. But we did do some special payouts with ESSER funds for signing and retention and things of that nature. So that contributed to that slight increase in salaries and benefits. Next is our purchased services at 7.3%, and supplies at 5%, and there's a small other category at 0.1%. That is a summary of the annual financial report. You have all the details in your board packet, and that will be posted to the website and ADE as mentioned, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
May I please have a motion to approve the annual financial report for fiscal year 2021-22 as presented?
So moved.
Any member of the board with questions or comments? Mrs. Case?
Thank you for making that understandable. I really appreciate it. Those pie charts are the best.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Matt always reminds me to put pictures in my presentation.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Didn't get it either.
Next on the agenda is ratification of vouchers. May I please have a motion to approve ratification of vouchers as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Mrs. Matura, I'm going to abstain, as I always do when ASBA is a payer of our vouchers.
Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Next on the agenda is gifts and donations. And we have very generous community and parent groups and charities who choose to donate to our schools. And we appreciate all of the donations that come in. And I do want to highlight a few this evening. We have for Desert Shadows Middle School, Lakeland Tours LLC, World Strides. They donated over $3,000 towards substitutes at Desert Shadows Middle School. Desert Trails Elementary School PTO donated $5,200 towards musical theater and some Troxel speakers for their school. We had a donation from Sandpiper PTO of $3,000 for charter buses for their 6th grade field trip. And then we have a very generous donation from the PV Schools Education Foundation, which we are so lucky to have this foundation in our district and providing for our students over and over and over again. So we're constantly thanking this group. PV Schools Education Foundation. During this time period, they donated just under $5,000 to Sunset Canyon, Shea, North Canyon, Larkspur, Echo Mountain Primary, Eagle Ridge, and Desert Cove. And this was for Title I field trips, PBIS support, and STEAM implementation. So we appreciate them giving funding to these schools to allow them to have these programs. So may I please have a motion to accept the gifts and donations as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is items for discussion. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Mature, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. Tonight, we will present an update of bond, budget override and programs, and capital improvement projects. Ms. Berrigan will do the honors.
Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Mature, and Governing Board. Tonight, I have information related to our bonds and overrides, which we greatly appreciate the generosity of our district in being able to have those things and support our students with those initiatives. There are some statutory requirements that require us to share information on this in 15491 and 15481. But beyond that, we want to make sure that our community and our voters are informed related to our voter-approved initiatives, reminding them of what they approved and what we are using those dollars for. With our voter-approved initiatives, we start with a 15% maintenance and operation override. That's 15% of our revenue control limit. We also have the $6.4 million annual district additional assistance override, which was formerly known as the capital outlay override, used still for capital expenditures. And then we have bonds. We still have some money left over from our 2015 bond authorization of $228 million. Not a lot, but a little bit. And then as well, our 2019 bond, which was approved for $236,140,000. With our maintenance and operation override, that was passed by our voters in November of 2017. As mentioned, it was the 15% of the revenue control limit. And for fiscal year 21-22, that totaled out to a little over $27 million. Maintenance and operation overrides are good in full for 5 years, which would be through this fiscal year 22-23, if not renewed. And if it's not renewed, the 1/3 phase down begins next fiscal year 23-24, and again in 24-25, and then it's gone by 25-26 if not renewed before then. The purpose of the maintenance and operation override is to maintain our current programs and increase teacher and staff compensation. And these 4 areas are areas in the voter pamphlet, which you may have received recently living in the district. If not, you'll be receiving it soon, so check for that in the mail. This is what we have included in the voter approved pamphlet for maintenance and operation override previously, and what was included again this year. As a reminder, it is on the ballot this November. The 2017 maintenance and operation override had expenditures in fiscal year 21-22 that matched the budget. We want to make sure that we expend all of the amount that our voters approve each year. So that was a little over the $27 million. And future plans, as I mentioned previously, it's on the November 2022 ballot. And if it does not pass, there is a third phase down that begins in 23-24. It's about $9.8 million based off of the current budget. Next is the district additional assistance override. That was passed by our voters in November of 2017. That's $6.4 million annually. That one is good and full for 7 years. There's no phase down. It just ends after 7 years, which would be through fiscal year 26-27. So that would need to go to the ballot no later than November of 2026 in order for a continuation on that. So we still do have a little bit of time there. The 2019 District Additional Assistance Override was set to provide just under $6 million in instructional materials on an annual basis and $450,000 in support vehicles. And support vehicles are things we use like for our maintenance vehicles, landscaping vehicles, things of that nature. We have McKinney-Vento buses and things like that, or vans that we use our White Fleet vehicles for. So in total for the 7 years, we will receive just under $45 million from our district additional assistance override. And just to show the expenditures this year, we spent a little over $50 million $5 million of that that we received of the 6.4 for this year. The district additional assistance override, if we don't use all of that, can be carried over and we can use that in another year. And sometimes there are years where we have larger adoptions, curriculum adoptions, and so we would roll money into a subsequent year so that we can support that larger curriculum adoption. Future plans with the district additional assistance override, we have a capital fund that includes both bonds and DAA that was the DAA override that was approved in November of 2019, and that runs through the 23-24 school year, next school year. So work has begun on a November 2023 capital plan, and the next election consideration would be for November of 2026. And I'll talk a little bit next about bond and how that plays into the capital plan as well. And so moving into bond, that was passed by our voters in November of 2019. It's that $236 million. The bonds must be sold within 10 years of the voter approval, and we sell most of our bonds within the 4 to 6 year time frame. Most of our bonds will be sold by then. We will be doing a bond sale this winter, early spring time frame, as is with our typical schedule. We've maintained a 4-year bond cycle recently where we go out every 4 years and ask for additional authorization from our voters, and our voters have been very supportive of that. But possibly this will potentially be a consideration for the November 2023 ballot to do the next bond. That would be the next 4 years. So the committee will begin meeting in January. We have a call for committee coming out here in November, and we'll start to see what we put together and if we have a recommendation for the board. With the 2015 bond authorization, our bonds are split into non-administrative expenditures and administrative expenditures. And these are the amounts under each of those categories that were approved by our voters at that time. In fiscal year 21-22, these are the categories we spent in, and it was just over $23 million. The summary on the bond authorization, we started with the authorization of $228 million. Our fiscal year 22 expenditures, just over $23 million. All of the prior year's expenditures were just under $197 million. So we have about $8 million left of that bond. As I mentioned, just a little bit left of that one. And that will very likely be spent this fiscal year, 22-23. Next is the 2019 bond authorization, again, split between non-administrative and administrative authorizations. And you can see the categories and the totals for each of those. With our expenditures for 21-22, these are the areas we spent in, just a little over $32.5 million. Some of those projects included a PAC, some high school furniture, a fine arts refresh, and in my next presentation, we'll see some pictures which are more hopeful on some of those projects. With our 2019 bond authorization of $236 million, our 22 expenditures were about $32.5 million. Prior year expenditures were almost $39 million, so we have about $165 million of that authorization left to spend. Similar to the future plans, we have those first three bullets were the same as the DAA one, but the change here is the consideration for November of 2023 for bond. District additional assistance override would be November of 2026 potentially, but bond is coming up for November of 2023. Additionally, when we report this, there's a requirement to share information about any school facilities board funding we received. A number of years ago, the state legislature replaced what was called the Building Renewal Fund, where we had a formula and all school districts received an amount. They changed that to a grant program, so you have to write in for that grant. It can be a little bit of a laborious and lengthy process, but our facilities team is committed to getting those additional dollars for our district. It means every penny of that we can get from the state school facilities board, we don't have to ask our voters for those dollars. And this year we did a little bit, or excuse me, last year we did a little bit more than $6 million, which included some weatherization and roof restoration at PV High School, as well as Pinnacle. We did weatherization at Eagle Ridge, a new roof at Horizon High School, and started on some weatherization projects at North Canyon and Mercury Mine. So we appreciate having those dollars to be able to support that. The other pieces for new school facilities, we've had that $16,000 in there. When it's time for a new school facility, that money will quickly disappear. The next shows a chart on capital fund expenditures, and it's to delineate really with all of our capital expenditures that we've had, what has covered those costs. And three of those categories, there's the bond renovation expenditures, the bond new construction expenditures, and then just some other bond expenditures, which would include like architecture fees and other things of that nature. You can see that that's the bulk of the chart there. The bulk of the pie is from our bond. That is from our voter-approved initiatives. That is from our community, saying we support what's happening in PV schools, and we want to show that support through approving a bond. We did, as mentioned, have some SFB expenditures which supported that, and the district additional override as well. And just to share some statistics with you about PV schools, we have 49 sites with 258 buildings, over 835 acres of land to maintain, and over 5.2 million square feet of interior space. Districts are the largest state land and asset holders throughout the state. And it's important that we are good stewards of those buildings and those facilities, and having bond and capital funds from our voters helps us to be able to do that. So with that, I say thank you to our community, and am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments? I have a question. Going back to the capital fund expenditures, it's back one slide, I believe.
Yes.
Or two slides. Looking at the pie chart, so if we did not have the approvals from our district, the voters, if we did not have these bonds and overrides and that sort of thing, the only money that would actually be coming into us for capital fund expenditures would be this SFB, the 9%?
In this instance, it would be. Districts do receive allocations for DAA. In our district, we set aside about 85% of that to go towards our maintenance and operation expenditures, and 15% of that towards capital expenditures. So we'd have a small amount
Okay.
of that as well.
So if these didn't pass, it doesn't mean that we wouldn't need to replace roofs or fix
No.
air conditioners or
All of that would
weatherize
still need
our
to be done.
buildings or anything.
Yeah.
So where would that money come from if it weren't coming from the approval of our district voters?
That's a great question. We could apply for additional SFB grants, but those are not likely to come through. There's usually only about $30 to $40 million in SFB grants, and you saw we got 6.3 million of that. That's a very large portion of what was allotted for school districts. We could redirect our district additional assistance allocation from the state towards capital costs, but it still wouldn't get us anywhere near the amount of money that we have for bond. So there's really no other funding source.
So would we end up needing to tap into our M&O, our maintenance and operations budget to cover the necessary expenses?
We
I mean,
could.
is that how it
It's
would?
that, or it's let the buildings fall into disrepair.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Case.
I changed my mind. I have a comment. So in education, there's pots of money, and one pot is separate from another.
Mhm.
So because we have a bond that we're utilizing, it lets us fix the air conditioning so that when it's 110 degrees outside, our buildings are cool.
Correct.
And we change the filters on the building and we maintain the building and don't get mold in the building and all those kind of good things. But uh, the other source of money from the state would be M&O, and we like to save our M&O for salaries. And that's why we do everything we can from putting solar. So our M&O money pays for our electricity and water.
Mhm.
And so that's why we have solar panels. Some people think we have covered parking. We don't. It's solar panels so that we can spend all that we can to pay teachers. And I just always like to bring that up whenever I can, that those monies stay in their categories, and that allows us, because you'd have to fix an air conditioner. You don't have to fix the heater in Arizona, but you have to fix air conditioning. And it would have to come out of the money that we pay teachers with if we didn't have a bond. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank
So
you.
we try to stay ahead of the game as much as we can,
Mhm.
and prevent things from happening and save all. And like we did, 10, 15 years ago, we did some water saving things to make sure that we were having less money out of M&O maintenance and operations fund, so more of that funding could go toward teacher.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Laney.
Thank you. I would just like to stress that bonds are not a free pool of money, that they're a tool. And that I appreciate that Ms. Berrigan knows that they're to be used wisely as a tool, because they do have to be paid back and there is a cost with using those. So, I'm glad that we do use them wisely, because if they weren't used wisely, it could make huge problems for future students and teachers and our staff. So thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is presentation of facilities 2022 summer construction projects. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. This is the annual picture show. This is the one you all like because we show lots of pictures in this presentation of the work that's been done with before and after. And we are happy to do that this time of the year. Our facilities 2022 summer projects. And as you will see, Ms. Berrigan has lots of pictures. Ms. Berrigan, would you present, please?
Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Matura, and Governing Board. I like this presentation too. I do like the pictures. So we'll just start right off with some of our flooring work that was done. This is Pinnacle Peak flooring upgrades. We did some polished concrete throughout the hallways. If it hasn't been discussed in here before, polished concrete is a very ideal way to go. Kind of has a nice modern look to it, but additionally, it is the lowest maintenance of any of the flooring that we can have. Basically, just needs to be touched up once a year and swept and mopped throughout the year. So no waxing, no carpet cleaning, nothing like that. Then we did some carpet as well in the classroom areas. It's hard to have that polished concrete in classrooms and libraries and things of that nature. So we still do include carpets in many places. And long ago, the district moved to the carpet tiles, which is very wise. You can just replace portions when necessary and may be able to avoid replacing things on a large scale. We did flooring throughout the campuses, including Explorer, Sunrise, Pinnacle Peak, North Canyon, Shea, Horizon, Liberty, Mercury Mine, and Shadow Mountain. And as mentioned, this is Pinnacle Peak. Here is some pictures, or here are some pictures from Explorer. That is their cafeteria. I know that Mr. Shappy is very happy with that. And also their library received some carpeting. And then here's some pictures from North Canyon with both the polished concrete and the carpet. Lots of flooring projects this year. Wildfire and some other campuses had some exterior painting or sealing. We paint stucco products as well, and then with the bricks, we generally seal those. We don't usually paint those, although we have done that before. And we did exterior painting or sealing at Echo Mountain Primary, Shea Middle School, Wildfire, Whispering Wind, Desert Trail, and the Boys and Girls Club. So here are some pictures from Wildfire and also some pictures from Shea Middle School. Shea Middle School had more of a sealing project. They have a lot of the brick, but we did paint like their doors and some of the overhang surfaces as well. One of my favorite projects was the Shadow Mountain High School gym. Their interior was painted and it looks significantly better. And then very recently, we were able to have our facilities folks get all of their banners hung back up. So it looks like a nice cohesive gym again. The next piece is some parking lots that we did. We replaced parking lot at Copper Canyon. We also did some at Palomino Intermediate, Echo Mountain Primary, North Canyon, Sonoran Sky, Copper Canyon, Mountain Trail, Greenway, Desert Trail, and Paradise Valley. So this one is Copper Canyon, and then here is the Desert Trails parking lot on a nice stormy day. The next one, these are one of those that don't have a lot of visual associated with them, but are very important for us to do. They're also very expensive for us to do. That's the Shadow Mountain High School electrical upgrades. Sometimes the plumbing or electrical at schools just get so darn old, we've got to replace them. And it doesn't have a great visual as mentioned, but it's certainly very necessary and important for our campuses. Next, we did lots of playground stuff this year. So that included Echo Mountain Intermediate, Greyhawk, Sunset Canyon, Cactus View, Sandpiper, Palomino Primary, Desert Cove, Copper Canyon, and Sonoran Sky. Here is Palomino, and until I got into school district business, I had no idea how much a playground costs, but they are extraordinarily expensive. Particularly if you're doing any amount of shade over them, and when you do that rubberized surface underneath, that's very expensive too. We also did, this is pictures from Sandpiper. We added, it looks like 400 swings there. I'm not sure how many. I hope the kids are using them. And then Sunset Canyon, this is their new playground. It was a lot of swings. Next is the Campobello Building B restroom remodel. On occasion, some restrooms need remodeled, and we have moved to, I don't know if you can tell, but that's called an epoxy surface there. Really easy to clean, and when you don't have grout, then you don't get bathroom odors. So that is an important new surface. It is a little bit expensive, but well worth it in the long run. We also did some restroom remodels at North Canyon and Paradise Valley High School. These are the pictures from North Canyon. Then we had some fencing updates that we had to do this year, and some of that was just replacing old and rusted fencing, but some of that was for security purposes, and Mountain Trail was one of those that we added just before the end of the year to make sure that they had the necessary security that they need for their school site. But we also did fencing at Desert Shadows, Mercury Mine, Copper Canyon, Explorer, Desert Trails, Echo Mountain, Desert Cove, and Sandpiper. And then we did some security and fire doors at Shadow Mountain High School as well. Here are some more of those. Oh, nope, actually, we have the concrete upgrades. Also, maybe not the best to look at, but at Mercury Mine in particular, they had more of those planters. There were 4 of those planters. You see 2 of them left. But they are getting old as that school is aging, and they were degrading significantly and causing some hazards there. So it was really more of a safety issue to add some concrete there and take out the planters. We did some concrete upgrades at Sandpiper as well. Eagle Ridge got a beautification project. I remember my first time at Eagle Ridge, I didn't quite understand where the front door was. So this helps. It's always important to know where you want to enter a campus from as a parent, especially as a new parent. So it helps to have that administration sign out front. But it also looks great. It was completely repainted on the exterior and has a really nice fresh look to it. And I've spoken with the principal there, and her community is very happy. They really love the way that it had turned out. We also, we also did some locker room remodels at Mountain Trail and Explorer Middle School. So those are some pictures there. We did a kitchen upgrade at Shadow Mountain. That can also be very expensive, particularly when you're putting the epoxy flooring in. So we did epoxy here as well. That's important for kitchens. And all of the equipment that needs to be installed. And if you're moving any equipment, moving gas lines or electrical lines or water lines. We did some countertops, plumbing, and painting at other campuses, including Desert Shadows, where we did some millwork upgrades. So millwork is generally the built-ins that you see in schools. And we did that at Desert Shadows, Desert Springs, and Desert Trails. These are the pictures for Desert Shadows. We also have some pictures for Desert Springs at their library, media center, and their teacher workroom. And then the next one shows the Desert Trail upgrades. Finally, one of our biggest, or actually our biggest project that has been going on and is now complete was the renovation of Palomino Primary that many of us got to go to the ribbon cutting for and have seen in its various phases over the last year as it was being rebuilt and added on and remodeled. And this just lists the total of all the facilities projects that were being worked on throughout the summer. Oh, let me click, thank you. We are continuing to work on additional projects. But again, we need to thank our wonderful Paradise Valley community for providing us with the funds that keep our schools looking good and keep our schools with the curb appeal and the safety and the security and all of the things that we want for our students, our families, and our community. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Mrs. Case?
I have a comment. The process to what school gets a floor and what school gets a new bathroom, et cetera, that's a real process to decide that. I just wanted the community to understand it's just not willy-nilly. It goes through a committee, they make requests, they determine who has the most need. There's a whole process. So the spending of those funds is carefully allotted for when was it last repaired? Are we going to save money by repairing it instead of letting it go all the way? I mean, there's a lot of process to go into it. And I just appreciate the thought processes and the committees that are involved to decide how the money will be spent. It's not just one person, it's a large group, and I just appreciate that.
Yes, thank you for that. And, I think with that, I should add that we have an incredible facilities team that have a lot of expertise in those areas to help us know and determine what projects are next. That's led by Rudy Martinez, as well as Ken Simpson and Les Thompson. And I appreciate how hard those fellows work and how their expertise in guiding us in the right direction for these projects.
All right. Yes, I love the pictures. That was a lot of fun to see. And it's fun to see what the new carpet look is because I think every several years they probably change out what the carpet squares are. So I'm imagining there's a big palette of carpet squares somewhere and they need to know when they go to which school, which one to do. But I noticed all of them had the same carpeting for the summer projects. So that was That was great. Before we adjourn, I would like to remind you that the next regular board meeting will be held on Thursday, November 3rd, 2022 at 7 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.